Have you ever wondered why Piedmont is a whole separate city within the borders of the city of Oakland? Let me tell you about a little interesting history. It's a common misconception that Piedmont voted to separate themselves from the city of Oakland. If you go back to the 1900s, there's a lot of history that shows that elections have always been complicated and people don't always read the laws. So after the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco, thousands of residents actually moved to Oakland. And Oakland at the time, the city government was trying to rapidly expand its borders. So what it was doing was asking various small towns and hamlets around to annex themselves into Oakland. And that means residents have to take a vote to decide to join Oakland. Now, there were some residents of Piedmont that thought they did not want to join a city that was so rapidly growing and wanted to stay relatively undeveloped and rural. So a small group of residents launched a campaign to incorporate the city of Piedmont on its own. This was a very narrow vote and won by only 18 votes. Interestingly, after the vote passed and Piedmont became its own city, the vote to annex Piedmont into Oakland happened just a couple months later. So interesting fact that a majority of Piedmont residents wanted to incorporate themselves into the city of Oakland and voted for that. Unfortunately, a vote is invalid to annex yourself into another city if you've already been incorporated a city of your own. So what happened then? A couple months later, all in 1907, residents launched a campaign to disincorporate themselves and no longer call themselves the city of Piedmont and instead try to become a part of Oakland again. So this vote happened, and again, the residents of Piedmont said, we don't want to be our own city. We want to actually join Oakland. And a majority of voters voted this way. Unfortunately, they needed 2/3 of the vote to actually disincorporate. So Piedmont stayed its own city and never annexed itself into Oakland. So why is the demographics of Piedmont so different from that of Oakland? Well, when all these elections were happening in the early 1900s, both of these areas were pretty much overwhelmingly majority white. But then as migration patterns changed, especially after World War II, when a large number of African Americans moved from the South up to the East Bay, demographics started to change, and the cost of living and of housing in Oakland was significantly less expensive than Piedmont. Fast forward, you throw in the history of racist redlining policies, you add the fact that the police chief of Piedmont was a KKK leader, and a whole bunch of other things, you start to see the separation between Piedmont and Oakland as far as its demographic goes. Fast forward to today. Piedmont has its own police station, fire station, and schools, but they pay a small amount of money every year to use Oakland's libraries. What do you think of all this history? Let us know in the comments and share.